Welcome to Europe in an Italian Minute. Today we're going to talk about a topic that comes out of an article from Francesco Giavazzi that first appeared in Corriere della Sera, one of Italy's top dailies, and then was translated and appeared on the Financial Times. Now you may have seen the article, and Giavazzi's argument in the question he asked is, have we talked too much about Greece? His argument is look, in the last 5 years, so many things have happened on the international scene and in Europe that we've dedicated an inordinate amount and a disproportionate amount of time to Greece, to an economy that is roughly 2% of the European GDP. But what's interesting is, beyond whether we've talked too much about Greece or not, is the fact that Giavazzi has written this article and it's gotten widespread currency in the debate in Italy. There have been a number of replies to Giavazzi, and that it was picked up by the Financial Times. Now, there's a couple of points in the article that are interesting in terms of how they relate to Italy. First is the obvious point, is that Italians are now starting to really distance themselves from Greece and the Greek government. Now, let's remember, here are two center-left governments, both on the periphery, quote-unquote, both countries that are perhaps would have an interest in having some kind of renegotiation of the terms of economic governance in Europe. Yet the Italian government, perhaps not as stridently as the Spanish government, has really has tried to distance itself from the Greek government. But more importantly now is Italian public debate. Now, there's always been this thing of, we are not Greece, we are not Portugal, we are not Spain. But now what we're really seeing is a direct criticism. And Giavazzi's point is, and this comes to the second point here of what's interesting in this article, is that Giavazzi's argument is, well, what do we do if a government and a state and a member state of the European Union does not want to be modernized? Now, that's an interesting question, because it raises the whole kind of debate of what does it mean to be modern, and what does it mean to be part of Europe? Now, Giavazzi starts from the premise, and it might be the right one, but we're not here to debate that, from the premise that there's a particular way to be European, and that particular way to be European means that you have a particular kind of state, you have particular kind of state structures that work in a very particular way. Let's remember, Europe is about unity and diversity. Now, the diversity might be on other fronts, but what we're heading towards is a unity that, in terms of how we approach governance, how do we approach economic governance, how do we organize the state, how do we organize the economy. Now, this has all kinds of implications, not just for Greece, but for all of Europe, and especially for Italy, because Italy has always had a debate about what do we need to do and what do we need to be a modern country. And this goes back all the way to Italian unification of the mid-19th century, but especially the debate about Europe in Italy has always been about Europe was going to be the gateway to the modernization of Italian society and the Italian state. And Giavazzi's article really brings this home, that there's a sentiment in Italy, and that's always been there. It's always been there amongst Italian intellectual elites, amongst its political elites, its economic elites, that somehow we needed somebody to guide us to modernization. And now what Giavazzi is saying, and not just Giavazzi, but what we're all saying and what the debate is currently in Italy is that, is this the modernization that we want? Do we want to be European? Is this is what it means to be European? What are we willing to do? In distancing Italy from Greece, what the argument is saying is that perhaps there's some member states of the European Union that just aren't European enough. They might be the home of European culture and tradition in arts and in literature, but somehow they're not a modern state, and only modern states are part of the European Union. Now, Italy has historically had strong identification with Greek, going back to classic times. But there is very much the sentiment that we are not Greece, and we do not want to be seen as Greece. Now, whether Italy can carry out the kinds of reforms that will make it, quote unquote, modern and European is open to debate. But the fact that there is a sentiment emerging that says there's some parts of the European Union that, yes, are close to us. They're close to us culturally, they're close to us geostrategically, they're close to us even politically, but aren't willing to to be European, and we're willing to distance ourselves from them, is really significant. And it marks an important point in the debate about where does Europe go from here with respect to Greece and with respect to the end of the economic crisis and how we manage it. Grazie.